Researchers can now analyze real Claude usage data outside labs. Anthropic released privacy-preserved tools and 250,000 conversations for independent impact studies. This is Models and Agents, episode 154. Anthropic opened aggregated Claude conversation data from April and May 2026 to Stanford SALT Lab, Oxford Human Information Processing Lab, and METR. The analysis showed over half the chats involved consequential tasks that affect others or prove hard to undo. OpenAI published its technical report on the Hugging Face agent incident, along with third-party assessments from METR and Redwood. Visa shipped an open-source agentic security harness that auto-remediates vulnerabilities before human review. Builders should watch how these data access and governance moves affect agent deployment decisions this week. Anthropic released privacy-preserved Claude usage data and analysis tools to external researchers for the first time. 3 independent groups examined 250,000 aggregated conversations from April and May 2026. The company now invites additional researchers to apply for access via a public forum to pursue studies previously possible only inside labs. This shifts AI impact research from internal only to distributed across academia, while keeping raw user data protected. Watch for follow-on papers and whether other labs adopt similar data sharing models. A new RRIZF survey catalogs 80 strict unsupervised post-training methods organized by the internal signals supplying the update. The signals include prediction statistics, sample relations, self-generated targets, or internal evaluators. The paper maps how each choice of signal and task structure determines whether post-training improves the model or amplifies error. An orthogonal input visibility by update persistence view defines deployment regimes and a unified selection framework. Builders working on post-training pipelines should test the catalog against their unlabeled data sources this week. Another RRIZF study tests stability of embedded steering for refusal suppression and brevity induction across 5 instruction-tuned models from 3 billion to 14 billion parameters. The tests cover non-adversarial supervised fine-tuning and reinforcement learning from human feedback. Behavioral preservation tracks training data pressure, while the weight edit itself survives with mean vector recovery of 0.004. Fine-tuning does not dismantle the steering mechanism, even when behavior reverts. Teams using activation steering should revalidate behavioral effects after any downstream fine-tuning run. A third ArcIVZ paper shows parallel English dialect corpora, where modern language models encode dialectal texts unequally at tokenization, pre-training, post-training, and inference stages. The gaps appear across model families. Character-level tokenization removes neither input nor output asymmetries nor accuracy gaps. Reward models exhibit contextual, unstable dialect preferences during post-training. Developers targeting global audiences should measure dialect performance explicitly, rather than assuming semantic equivalence holds. Visa open-sourced the vulnerability agentic harness that runs 11 stages to discover, verify, remediate, validate, and iterate on vulnerabilities using an abstract syntax tree call graph. The default flow writes candidate fixes to a working copy, then runs an adversarial validation panel at stage 11. The panel returns validated, failed, or needs review verdicts without bypassing team build, test, or review gates. It supports per-stage model choice across Anthropic, OpenAI compatible, and open-weight backends, and ships with MTTA observability. The harness is intended for authorized operators on code they own in controlled environments. Operators must still fence repos and use scoped credentials. This builds directly on the agent reliability questions from yesterday by showing how operational controls can be embedded before deployment scales. A VentureBeat piece argues that agent governance must be enforced at the operational data layer through role and attribute-based access, dynamic column masking, and session-level audit logging. The approach treats the agent as a first-class principle with declared purpose. 9 controls grouped under Enforce, See, and Prove, and Unify and Harden appear as executable policies already present in databases, rather than prompt guardrails. EDB Postgres AI is positioned as the open foundation delivering these controls with data sovereignty. Teams running autonomous agents should map their current IAM rules to agent identities and declared purposes before scaling deployments. Cyber insurers are updating policies in response to autonomous agent incidents. They are shifting from traditional controls to new risk assessments around agent behavior. The article notes the Hugging Face incident as a reference point for emerging coverage questions. Organizations deploying agents should review policy language for explicit agent identity and action scope clauses in the coming quarter. A Towards Data Science post demonstrates replacing OpenSearch with typed tools, hard bounds, and an UN bypassable gate when walking a knowledge graph. 4 models tested on a wrong prediction scenario show the bounded approach reduces hallucination while preserving useful traversal. Builders should prototype the gate pattern on any agent that currently receives unrestricted context windows. Another Towards Data Science guide focuses on obtaining higher quality code rather than higher volume when collaborating with coding agents. It emphasizes structured prompts and review loops that surface intent mismatches early. Developers using agents for code generation should adopt the workflow on their next non-trivial feature branch. Analysis of corporate documentation found 227 install commands pointing to code with no identifiable owner. The pattern indicates agents can introduce unvetted dependencies at scale. Security teams should add provenance checks to agent-generated package lists before any merge. Okay, let's pop the hood on data layer governance for agents. Everyone talks about agent guardrails as prompt instructions or monitoring layers added after the model. In practice, governance that must survive autonomous planning and cross-system action lives inside the database itself through enforceable policies evaluated at query time. An agent declares a purpose at session start. That purpose becomes an attribute the existing role and attribute-based access engine already understands. The policy engine evaluates it exactly like department or clearance level, denying access before any data leaves the store. This adds no extra latency beyond the existing authorization check, yet guarantees the rule cannot be bypassed by clever prompting or tool chaining. Row and column level security plus session audit logging capture exactly which agent acted, for which user, and under what declared purpose. The trade-off appears when agents need broad read access for legitimate exploration. You must either pre-scope the purpose narrowly or accept that some queries will be rejected at runtime. Use this approach when agents will modify production data or cross trust boundaries. Rely on prompt guardrails only for read-only, low-stakes assistance where the blast radius stays inside a single conversation. The gotcha that bites most teams is assuming the model will self-enforce rules written in the system prompt. Once the agent can plan multi-step actions, only the data layer still holds. Apply for Anthropic's Researcher Access Form if you study AI societal impact. The 250,000 conversation dataset lets you run analyses previously impossible outside labs. Clone Visa's vulnerability agentic harness and run it with stop after S9 on a test repo to see the serif output before enabling remediation. Prototype the typed tool plus gate pattern from the Towards Data Science post on any agent that currently receives unrestricted web search. Map your current IAM roles to agent identities and declared purposes using the 9 controls in the EDB governance framework before scaling autonomous agents. More labs may follow Anthropic's data sharing model after the initial 3-group results publish. Cyber insurers are expected to release updated agent-specific policy templates in the next quarter. Visa plans to contribute the harness to NVIDIA's Open Secure AI Alliance and expand consulting workshops. Before we go, the next wave of unsupervised post-training papers is already in review and should surface within weeks. That's models and agents for today. If you found this useful, share it with someone who's trying to keep up with all these changes, and subscribe so you don't miss tomorrow's update. The AI world moves fast. We'll help you keep up. See you tomorrow. And if you'd rather watch than listen, find us on YouTube at NERA Network. Links in the show notes. And before you go, this show is part of the NERA Network, a family of daily podcasts on tech, science, and markets. Each one a short, sharp briefing you can finish on the commute. If today earned its place in your feed, here's your next listen. Tesla Shorts Time, your daily deep dive into everything Tesla. Find every show free at naranetwork.com. And on the website, every episode's visuals live in our free image gallery at naranetwork.com gallery. Royalty free under Creative Commons. Download with attribution. This episode used AI voice synthesis of my voice. Editorial selection and analysis are my own.